I find this whole concept really, really intriguing because I even know a lot of people live in Florida and in swampy areas, let's say, and move a lot. Nowadays, people rent instead of buy, and you don't know much about where you're moving into or renting from, what the person before had. And they do get caught up. Yes, I acknowledge that many places I've been in have mold, but the testing is what is difficult when I jump from one year, retest, do a, ERMI or something like that. It's expensive. And here you have this kind of, this solution that is affordable. How did you get it from something that is expensive to make it become affordable and still accurate?
Well, so we did a hard analysis on what were the problems with mold testing, right? Yeah. What is the primary problem? There's a lot of them. Number one is in the do-it-yourself side of things. Just to take that out, most of the time you have to hire a professional. Yeah. And so that means that there's a huge cost structure associated with that, right? You've got to put the human in the vehicle, and they've got to have advertising they got to pay their rent and the electricity. It's just a huge cost structure. So as a result, the testing and the lab fees have to be marked up extraordinarily high, and for it to be sustainable. And then there's also lots of problems within that model when it comes to conflicts of interest, because there's a great propensity in this industry for people who are taking samples to be doing it with an ulterior motive, to gather data that can be used as a sales tool, as opposed to a tool for healing, as opposed to an investigative tool. And so as a result, it's used as leverage unwittingly, to the unwitting public. And then they're often forced into fear-based decisions. And also there's also a heavy slant. We can talk more about this, and I would really like to talk more about this, that everyone's focused on mycotoxins, and mycotoxins are only part of the story. Mycotoxins are actually, as it turns out, a disproportionately smaller part of the story than most people think when it comes to mold and mold-related illness. And we'll dig into that. But the people who love to manipulate this, especially the ERMI purveyors of ERMI, they're always high. They're always high. And so it's a mold remediator's dream, because you can't pass those. And so the more you fail, the more they work, the more they get paid. It's a conflict of interest. And so essentially we started looking at, what is out there. And basically that's why we created what we created, because you looked at the DIY market and all I saw was junk science, stuff that confirms the presence of mold. Be it a tape lift or a swab. By the way, mold is ubiquitous in our environment, so confirming the presence of mold doesn't do you much good. It's mold's all over your skin. It's all over. Take a deep breath right now. If in a healthy home, you will have breathed in hundreds of species potentially, and so that is normal, and I would argue healthy. And the opposite is also true, by the way. If you breathe in and you only breathe in a small number of them, you're probably in an unhealthy building with a low biodiversity. It's very counterintuitive, right?